Hello students, myself Dr. Chayaviyam, Associate Professor Department of ECE, SVIT. So in this video we'll be looking into Module 2, Computer Hardware Requirements for Real-Time Applications. Module 2 covers the following topics: Introduction, General Purpose Computer, Single Chip Microcomputers and Microcontrollers, Specialized Processors. Along with this we'll also look into parallel computers. What are process related interfaces, which includes analog interface, digital interface and pulse interfaces, various data transfer techniques, communications and standard interfaces. Introduction to the embedded computer based system. Apart from digital computers that can be used for real-time computer control, that is used to monitor real-time applications like what we saw in the previous unit, that is loop control, supervisory control and direct digital control. So majority of the embedded computer based systems used for such purposes can be microprocessor, microcomputer, specialized digital computers. Let's try to understand each category. What do you mean by microprocessor? We know that it is a processor which has IC chip. It is an electronic component that does processing. So it also has a CPU that can read each instruction from the memory, decodes it and executes it. Basically, the job of the microprocessor is to process data as required in the instructions. So then what is the difference between microcomputer and microprocessor? Basically, this microcomputer is a small, relatively inexpensive computer. So it is the one in which it uses microprocessor as a central processor. So microcomputer uses microprocessor as a processor as a central processor. For example, if you see smartphones that has a central microprocessor, this can be an example of microcomputer. What do you mean by specialized digital computer? We also have this category that includes fast DSPs. So in this specialized digital computers, it includes fast DSPs. DSPs, we know it is a specialized microprocessor chip which is usually used to measure, filter or sometimes it compresses data from continuous real world analog signals. So most commonly used digital signal processors can be used in applications like radar, sonar, speech recognition systems and so on. So this type of digital signal processors can take real world examples like temperature, pressure, digital signal monitoring and also it handles all these signals and manipulates mathematically. So apart from these computers, we can also talk about what are parallel computers. So parallel computers are the one which increasingly used to solve large computationally intensive mathematics or intensive or wherever there is a data intensive applications. In such cases we can go for parallel computers, and this type of parallel computers can meet demand for higher performances, low cost, and of course it ensures to give accurate results in real time applications. So we also can think of specialized RISC. So commonly used portable devices due to its power efficiency. RISCs are also microprocessors which is used for highly optimized set of instructions. Some of the general purpose microprocessors are shown here. The Intel XX86 series, Motorola series, Zilog and Z800 series. Okay, and what are the factors that determine the overall performance of the system? The computer that are used in a real-time computer control is that they are modular. So when I say modular, it means that they provide means of adding extra units such as input devices. Whenever we need input or output devices to be added to a basic unit, it must be able to add it. So that is modularity. So apart from that, the capability of a basic unit. So we call, so this modularity should be provided to a basic unit. So the capabilities of this basic unit we should be in terms of processing power, should be measured in terms of processing power. So we know that CPU's processing power is measured in MIPS, that is million instructions per second. So processing power measures the amount of work a larger computer can do. Storage capacity. Storage capacity, it tells you what amount of data a storage device can hold. It is basically measured in kilobytes, megabytes, gigabytes and terabytes, and it can can be stored in optical disks and magnetic disks and so on. So input output bandwidth. When I say bandwidth, it is a measurement of amount of data that a network transmitter or a receiver over a given amount of time. Bandwidth is basically measured using bits per second. Next, we have to look into what is interrupt structure. The interrupt can be a signal that will be existed by hardware or a software when a process or an event need immediate attention. We know this. So basically, it alerts processor to a high processing priority task, and it halts the currently working task and executes always the highest priority task. So we'll see in detail about interrupts in the next coming videos. So these are the various factors that determine the overall performance of the system. So let's see what is general purpose digital computer. So we have a CPU, which is a central processing unit, and we have a main memory, peripherals, so which is connected through various buses, that includes data bus, address bus and control bus. This is a basic structure or a basic diagram of a general purpose digital computer. Central processing unit is the one which performs all type of data processing operations. CPU becomes very important of every computer. Like how a brain controls a body, CPU sends all its controls to other parts of the computer. So it basically stores data, intermediate results and instructions or a program. It has two sections. Like first section is arithmetic or logical unit. It's also called as ALU, and it has a control unit. So we need to understand what is this arithmetic and logic unit. So arithmetic and logic unit is a digital circuit that is used to perform arithmetic and logical operations. When I say arithmetic operations, it is nothing but addition, subtraction, division, multiplication. Logical operations include OR, and so on. So ALU becomes very important, and because it enables computer to perform mathematical operations on a binary number. It also handles both fixed point numbers and floating point numbers. Most of the computers what we are using now now have a CPUs with various general purpose registers. So maybe up to 256 registers. Why these registers are required? In order to store intermediate results, computations that can be held in CPU without the need to access main memory, thus giving faster processing. So that's all about arithmetic and logical unit. Then what is this control unit? It is again a digital circuitry which is used to direct the operations within a computer's processor. So it works by receiving input information that it converts into controller signals, so which are then sent to the central processor. So this controller unit or control unit will let computer's logic unit, memory as well as input and output devices just to know how to respond to the instructions received from the program. So at an outset I can tell that this control unit is the one which fetch program instructions from the main memory, decodes the instructions and sets up necessary data paths and timing cycles for the execution of the instructions. The features of the CPU which determine the processing power available and hence influence the choice of a computer for process control include. So before you choose any CPU or you want to buy any computer, these are the various factors to be considered. The first thing is word length. Word length of a processor in a computer refers to the maximum number of bits it can take as input. I repeat, it is nothing but a maximum number of bits that it can take as an input. It is the number of bits processed by a computer CPU in a single pass. So that information we can get from the word length, and basically we have word length as 8, 16, 32, 64 bits and so on. So word length is used to it's used in computing data bus, address size and instruction size. So next we need to take care of instruction sets. So it's nothing but the code, okay, that computer processors can understand. So the language is basically a machine language. It contains instructions that control the movement of the bits and bytes within the processor. So next we have to look into what is addressing modes. So addressing modes, when we are choosing any computer, these are the one in which the different ways in which the location of an operand can be specified in an instruction. Okay, and the way any operand is selected during the program execution is dependent on the addressing mode of the instruction. The purpose of using this addressing modes is as follows. The first purpose is to give the programming versatility to the user. Second is to reduce the number of bits in addressing field of instructions. So then we also have to take care of the number of instructions. So while you make any choice of computer for a process control, so it is used for, these are the registers that are used by the CPU. CPU has general purpose registers which may contain both the data and memory address. Registers vary in both number and size, okay, depending on the CPU's architecture. So next we have information transfer rates. It gives the measure of speed at which data can be transmitted from one device to another device. So when I say data transfer rates, it can be measured in megabytes or megabytes per second, megabits or megabytes per second. I mean, we can designate it in two ways. One second, that we can write like this, that is MBPS and we have MBPS. So this is PS. So megabits per second and megabytes per second. So information data transfer rates is just that it gives a measure of speed at which data can be transmitted from one device to another, and these data transfer rates can be measured in two ways. One is megabits per second and megabytes per second respectively. Storage. This storage means nothing but a memory which is used on computer control systems, which can be divided into two main sections or categories. The first thing is fast access storage and auxiliary storage. Fast access storage is a part of computer system that contains data, program and results which are currently being operated on. In addition to RAM, it is now common to use ROM in case of fast access storage, and we also have an auxiliary storage. So this auxiliary storage is typically a magnetic disk or a magnetic tape. So these are basically one which providing bulk storage for data that are required infrequently, maybe at a much lower cost than this fast access storage. For storage of critical code or predetermined functions, we use several types of memories like RAM. So we all know what is RAM. RAM is a random access memory, and it is basically called as a volatile memory, and it is an internal memory of CPU. used for storing data, program and program results. So it is a read or write memory which stores data until machine is working. As soon as the machine or a computer switches off, the data is also erased. So ROM is a non-volatile memory. So this RAM is a volatile memory, whereas ROM, we are talking about ROM now. So it is a non-volatile memory. So which means that permanently stores instructions for your computer. Again, this ROM stores instructions to start your computer. So this operation we call it as a bootstrap operation, and these ROMs are basically used in computers, embedded systems and so on. So apart from this, we also have to discuss or understand what is PROM. PROM is programmable read-only memory. So it is again a memory chip on which data can be written only once. I repeat, it is a memory chip on which the data can be written only once. That is, once a program has been written onto a PROM, it remains forever. Okay. EPROM, electronically programmable read-only memory. It is a special type of PROM that can be erased by exposing it to UV light. Once it is erased, it can be reprogrammed n number of times. So that is electronically programmable read-only memory. Okay. And we also have input-output in a general purpose computer. The computer, basically the complexity arises when a wide variety of devices are connected to data transfer rates of devices are different. So that means you connect printer, you connect scanner that may be operating at different baud rates. Okay, hence in such cases the device may require parallel or serious data transfers, like different A to D converters or D to A converters. So here it says that it's the most complex areas of the computer. In a general purpose computer, these input output devices becomes much complex because it is very much needed to take care of the devices which are operating at different data rates. Next we have a bus structure. So the buses are characterized into three ways. Basically, some are mechanical or a physical structure, electronical characteristics and functional characteristics. When we say mechanical or a physical structure bus layers, it is a bus with collection of conductors which carry electrical signals. So these are the buses with collection of conductors which carry electrical signals. So for example, it can be tracks on printed circuit boards. So we have seen PCB boards. We can see at the back side, you see there will be so many tracks or wires in a ribbon cable. All this can be called as a mechanical bus structure. Example of mechanical bus structure. Electrical characteristics of a bus are nothing but signal levels that represents loading. Okay, that is how many loads the line can support. Everything is can be understood by this electrical bus structure. So next we have functional characteristics of a bus structure. So this describes the type of information which the electrical signals flowing along the bus conductor represents. Okay, so basically there are functional groups: address lines, data lines, control and status lines. So the three functional groups can be address lines. So address lines will always tell you where data has to be sent. I repeat, it will tell you where data has to be sent. Okay, this will tell you where data has to be sent, which data has to be sent. Data lines represents which data has to be sent. And control and status line will represent when data has to be sent. So data has to be sent. So these are the various bus lines that can which comes under the functional groups. Thank you.